Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, we had to talk about that stupid loss. The Lakers lost to the Boston Celtics last night. Did so. They had the fake comeback and all that stuff. So it's nice to see that, the longer the time goes on, the more things stay the same. So we get to we'll talk about a little bit about that. LeBron James also tweaked his groin during that game. So we're going to offer up the latest on that front and talk to friend of the show, Dr. Evan Jeffries. We'll bring him back on here in a second to discuss some of what he saw from the play and what the next steps might be and all that good stuff. He was great the last time we had him on, so we figured, you know what? We'll send out the actual bat signal. I swear to God, I sent him a GIF or GIF or whatever we're calling it of the bat signal, and he answered. So we will go ahead and talk about that. And then on the other end of that conversation, I will talk a little bit more about the game and something that the Lakers had been playing with fire with, and then it finally burned them. So all of that here in a bit. But first, let's talk to Dr. Evan Jeffries, DPT, Game Injury Doc on Twitter. How you doing, bud? How you holding up?
I'm doing well, man. It could be better after last night, but it is what it is. It's towards the end of the season, so this is kind of how that goes.
It's got to be kind of tough. Like we were thinking about Jen kind of filling this role and like talking to her, and she's like, I don't really want to be the person that everybody like links with Lakers injuries. So
I'll be that person.
So it's like, I apologize that or I'll start bringing you on to talk about basketball as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm sorry to have thrust you into this role or whatever. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about LeBron tweaking his groin, and then exiting the game. And he spoke after the game a little bit about it. So here's what he had to say after.
LeBron, just what's your level of concern right now with the groin?
Not much concern. Obviously, we're going day to day, look at it each day, see if it gets better, and then take the proper measurements and see what we need to do going forward.
Just what's the process for you?
So he wasn't concerned last night. Apparently told reporters after the game that he didn't feel a pop, didn't hear a pop, which is different from the time he tore his groin. And missed a significant chunk of that season. So that, I think, was good news. And then Shams Karani of ESPN reported this earlier today.
Malika, sources tell ESPN LeBron James is expected to miss at least 1 to 2 weeks with this strained groin. And typically with these soft tissue injuries, it leads to weeks long of absences, and it could be a potentially extended period of time here for LeBron James when he has evaluation here over the next 24 hours. But unlike in 2018, when LeBron James had that groin tear, I'm told he did not hear a pop last night in Boston. And unlike the last 2 years when the Lakers were competing for a play-in tournament slot, this time around, they are in the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. They do have a level of cushion, an ability here to have caution with LeBron James to be right for the stretch run and the playoffs. And as of right now, we do have to keep in mind, he needs to play 7 more games as well to be eligible for an All-NBA team.
All right. One thing that really stands out to me, they showed the play that he apparently tweaked his groin. You actually identified that last night while the game was going on. The first thing that stands out to me was that he was actually able to finish the play. Yeah. Right? He tweaked it, pivoted a couple more times, and then rose up and finished with that left-handed layup there. When he hurt his groin previously on that Christmas Day game, I believe it was, against the Warriors a few years back, he just went down. He went down and and that was it. So what, based on, and this is always kind of a gray area here, it's kind of difficult to do, but based on what you saw in that play, his continued playing, his comments after the game, and then now the reporting about the situation here, where do you think we stand?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is he didn't hear a pop or anything like that, right? That Christmas Day game in what 2018, 19, he even I felt a pop, right? So you
Yeah.
knew right away it was something pretty serious, which means that was more likely like a pretty significant tear. And I remember he did a documentary talking about how bad that injury actually was versus what they reported, right?
Yeah.
So there's always that. Well, you got to take that for a grain of salt with some of these reporting on the injuries. I do like the fact that he finished the play and was able to kind of jog a little bit. But as soon as like that play ended on the defensive possession, you could tell he was favoring the groin, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I can't go." Right. So I'm happy that it's not that significant, but at the same time, they reported a groin strain right away, right? So it wasn't like, oh, it's soreness or tightness, kind of like Austin Reeves when they reported that. So you knew it was something at least that we have to monitor, and he would be
Yeah.
out a little bit.
An actual injury, right?
Yeah, for
Versus,
sure.
pain.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. He took a shot. He took a three. That was the last play he made before he was walking off the court, and he was basically
yeah.
saying like, I don't got it. And he
Yeah.
had zero lift on that shot.
Oh
And
yeah,
it makes sense, man. Like I've tweaked the groin here. The a strained groin, or in the case a couple of years ago, the torn groin is the rare
yeah.
injury that is actually worse than it sounds, and it already sounds terrible. Everything you do
Yeah.
involves that region,
Oh yeah,
walking,
yeah,
running,
yeah,
jumping, every single thing. My question on this one is actually as it pertains to the rehab and getting right.
yeah,
Um, a lot of times with this kind of an injury, I think one of the issues that is I think flies under the radar a little bit is how he stays and remains conditioned
yeah, yeah.
with it. Like what kind of things do you think he can do to maintain his conditioning so that there isn't that ramp up as well whenever
Yeah.
he does return?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you got to take care of the pain, get rid of the swelling, and make sure he can like tolerate normal activities, right? And
Yeah.
he can walk without pain. He can kind of move to the side without pain. And then what they typically start to do is get him in the pool, some
Mhm.
aquatic rehab, right? You can run in the pool, things like that, because it's just going to unweight the body in there.
Mhm.
And take off some of the load, and then they can also do some of those treadmills as well that are like the anti-gravity treadmills that you can
Yeah,
run in
the
to kind of keep
anti-vitamin.
cardio. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But just to keep that cardio condition. But first and foremost, you just got to make sure you got to let them heal. So that's like within the first week, you got to just be aggressive with the treatment. I know that his trainer Mike Macias is always they're going to be treating this thing like 24 hours a day, basically,
Yeah.
especially towards the end of the season. So if this injury happened earlier in the year, I can probably guarantee he would be out multiple weeks, right? Like he'd probably be
Yeah.
like 3 to 4 weeks just so he can get actually not make it worse as it progresses. But since it's later in the year, I could probably see a pretty big ramp up in his PT and rehab with this.
Um, the other part of this too that concerns me a little bit is that that timeline, that kind
Yeah,
of somewhat rushed timeline
yeah.
here. What kind of risk are you talking about here when of re-aggravating it or making it worse because of that quicker timeline?
Yeah, so it's like if he were to come back earlier, the tissue is just more susceptible to further strain, right? So if you take a grade one strain, I always like to put it from 0 to 100%. So a grade one would be 0 to 25%, anywhere in that range of little micro tearing. Once you get past that 25% to 50%, that's a partial tear. So the main thing is you want to have that healthy tissue so you don't stretch that out anymore and make it
Mhm.
worse into a real partial tear. Or then, for instance, you would pop, right? You would probably feel that type of pop if he
Yep.
came back too soon.
Does that previous injury impact his return? The fact that he's already torn it completely one time and had it, I believe, surgically repaired. Does that impact his injury this time around?
I think it does. I mean, anytime you've strained a muscle multiple times, there's scar tissue the body's perception of where that injury is. It's just kind of like hamstrings, calves, things like that. Any of those
Yeah.
soft tissue areas, they can definitely be irritated more based on that. It's been a while since he's joined. I think it was like 2 years ago. I remember him coming out of the game one time for a little groin thing on the same side. So I think that's still going to be in the back of everybody's mind. It does make the rehab a little different when you've had this before. So you just got to be more cautious.
Um, really quickly, if you have a little bit more time, I want to
Yeah,
talk
of
about
course.
Luka.
Yeah.
So Luka already doesn't move the best. It's I think
Yeah, it's
how
true.
I'll put it.
Yeah.
He moves a lot like I do after I've attempted cardio.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he tweaked his back, it looked like, a little bit last night. And there are just a few times over the courses of games where he's just like always kind of feels like he's kind of nursing something.
Yeah.
What have you seen from him and how he's moved and how he's I think tried to improve his conditioning and cardio over the course of his time as a Laker?
Yeah, I mean, last night was the first game in probably the last 6-8 games where he just looked like he wasn't moving well at all, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I know he had that previous like 2 games ago where he kind of got banged up. I think it was Chris Dunn that kind of bumped into him, kind of hurt his hip back, and that's kind of where he's been a little bit sore from that. But yeah, he had no lift, and he couldn't really get past defenders. That's why he kept getting the ball stolen. So he just didn't have that normal ability that he would. He's not the fastest person, regardless, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of moves more like Joker, right? In that aspect as a point guard. But I think he'll have to you start using his body a little bit more post up moves, things like that, to kind of get control of that until kind of some of that subsides a little.
Yeah, the way he moves, he's a heel runner. Like, have you noticed that? Like
Yeah.
if he really wants to get up and go, he'll utilize his toes and the balls of his feet a little bit more.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he looks to be a lot more comfortable hitting heel first
Yeah.
with how he runs. How much of that do you think like impacts like the way that we view him as an athlete? Because I know he's super athletic. It's just in
Yeah.
kind of untraditional ways.
Yeah.
But like, would you like if you were like trying to talk him through like athleticism and conditioning and stuff like that? Is there a concern with heel runners in this sport?
I wouldn't necessarily say just in general heel runners, right? I think his game, the way he plays, is never going to be a type that's going to be on his toes, just quickly exploding, right? He's just
Yeah.
not that player. He's more shifty, crafty, just uses his body more. 'Cause
Strong.
he's pretty strong guy. So when
Yeah.
he gets to the basket, he can bulldoze over him a little bit. Unlike LeBron, where he's just exploding on people, right?
Yeah.
So I think that necessarily won't translate as far as like if there's other people in this league that do that. I think just that's his game, kind of got that European style, right? And I don't think he'll never be known as an explosive athlete. However, we're not really looking for that
Yeah.
from him, right?
Could you imagine how pissed Nico would be if he all of a sudden became an explosive athlete? Just starts like windmill dunking.
Well, if he trains with LeBron for the summer and just strictly, if he
Yeah.
like, my thing is he does need to lose some weight, right? Just kind of reduce some of that load onto his body.
Yeah.
But if he gets if he could get some training and kind of get some of that explosiveness back, his game will just be next level. So
I agree. Last thing before we get you out of here, Rui Hachimura, they never really offered up a reevaluation update on him.
Yeah.
It has now been, I think, going on a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
And we still don't know a whole bunch. At what point do you with the way that the information that you have at hand, when do red flags start popping up a little bit with that lack of clarity, that ambiguity that we're starting to feel and sense here with Rui?
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, it's a pain tolerance thing, right? So as they try to ramp up his load, start to do 1-on-1s, 2-on-2, that type of cardio, you just got to make sure he's not having pain with the jumping, the sprinting, the landing, all that stuff, right? And so that's the tough part with the patellar tendinopathies. It's really trying to build the strength around everything. to reduce load onto the knee.
Mhm.
So I'm sure he's hitting all the like anti-gravity treadmill, the pool therapy, things like that to just kind of increase that load, but not trying to aggravate the pain.
Mhm.
I would get concerned if it's another 2 weeks from now. Like if he's still not
Yeah.
back, I'll be like, okay, well, this is a little bit longer than it should have been, right?
Right.
Especially the way they kind of portrayed it. I did hear, I think he was supposed to be reevaluated in a week. Maybe that was a couple of days ago. So
Mhm.
hoping in the next couple of days, here's some good news for him to return. Because with LeBron gone, say for 2 weeks, right? You're going to need Rui out there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping. I haven't heard anything really on that front, and I've kind of
Yeah.
backed off of injury reporting and stuff. There's just too much information, too many people who control it at this point.
Yeah.
But I do like if we don't get a fairly clear update this week,
Yeah.
that's when the reporter in me starts going like, all right,
A little concerned.
come on. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one thing. I'm with you. Like, it would nice to see him on the court in the next couple of
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
But if we don't get like, because we were supposed to get the update, I believe, on Friday, this most recent Friday.
Yeah.
We didn't get it then.
Yeah.
They're on the road, which makes it kind of tough to get that kind of information.
Yeah, and he's
But
not
if they-
traveling. He's not traveling with them. I don't think I've heard, or have you seen?
I feel like I saw him at the game last night, but
I
I might
we'll
also be I'm like at this point, all 82 kind of mold together. So
Yeah, for sure.
I might be thinking of him being on the bench in their previous game. So yeah, I don't believe he's traveling. I think he's more focused on rehab and getting right and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully we get some kind of an update ahead of tomorrow's game, but
Yeah.
we'll kind of see. But Dr. Jeffries, is there anything that you want to plug before we get you out here?
Just my handles, the Game Injury Doc. Love being on and talking with you about the Lakers and injuries. But yeah, anytime.
I appreciate you actually answering the bat signal. I saw you replied to a tweet of mine, and I was like,
Yeah.
huh. Well, maybe he's not busy.
Yeah.
It's Sunday, but
Yeah.
no, I greatly appreciate it, man. And we'll have to have you on for like some better news sometimes.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
talk
So
about
Lakers.
basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that would be nice.
I don't want to
all
be the
right.
bearer of bad news every time, but I'll keep you guys updated.
Perfect. All right. So, Dr. Jeffries, thank you very much for popping on. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And yeah, we'll hopefully talk to you soon about some like good news. Rui coming back and the way that he looks whenever he does.
All right. Sounds good. Talk soon.
All right. So let's go ahead and I have some thoughts on the basketball that we have seen recently from the Lakers and some of those bad habits, like I said, popping on BTS Dance Studio. Yes, Evan is a real physical therapist. He knows his stuff, and he is really good on this stuff. I thought it was great information there. So, yeah, I AJ Norbell. Hey, Anthony, thanks for the content. Using it to heal from a cold. You guys can kind of hear it in my voice. It has been crazy windy here, and it is just dust everywhere. You guys can maybe hear it a little bit in my voice too. Let's all get through it together. Victor, I thought I saw him yesterday at the game, but like I said, I thought maybe my brain played tricks on me and it was the previous game, but I was pretty sure he was wearing like a gray sweatsuit yesterday, if I remember correctly, with like a chain on. But anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about the actual basketball that we saw last night, talk about some of these habits that they're having, and then also discuss some goals for the Lakers here while LeBron recovers. So I'm going to try to find it. I should have had it ready to go for this thing. And by the way, while we have been recording here, the Oklahoma City Thunder took care of business against the Denver Nuggets and helped out the Lakers so that, while LeBron is recovering, they can stay within striking distance of the second seed, if not hold on to the second seed. But anyway, so here's the stat that friend of the show, Cranjus McBasketball, Tim over there at the Lakers Exceptionalism Pod. Here's a tweet that he sent out about the Lakers organized offense. This is great data that he keeps track of over the course of the year. In preseason, they were running 73% of their offense was organized. That usually, I do think this does somewhat dissipate for most teams over the course of the year. I could, maybe not to the extent that it has with the Lakers, but I definitely think like in preseason when everybody is trying to, put their right foot forward, their best foot forward, they usually run what coach says. Coaches, stay on top of teams with the kinds of sets that they want to run. Now, the problem with the Lakers back in the preseason and then early in the season was they were running more organized offense, but it wasn't always like best. It didn't always fit the way that the types of teams that they were playing against or the kinds of defense that they were seeing. So there was like, it's not like a direct correlation. The more organized offense that you run, the better you are going to be. You also have to call plays that specifically target weaknesses in the defense that you're facing. So, that was, I believe, getting that part of the offense was getting a little bit better over the course of the season. But here's some somewhat concerning numbers. So preseason, 73% organized offense. October, that already dipped down to 70. I already saw that first dip there. November, it dipped further to 65. December, it dipped even further to 56%. And then January dipped again a little bit less, but it did dip again to 54%. February dipped again from 54 to 46% organized offense. And then in March, we saw another dip so far this month to 39% organized offense. That means from February on to now, fewer than half of the Lakers' possessions are organized. And I think part of that is, LeBron and Luka learning to play together. Luka learning to be a Laker and like understanding what the Lakers are trying to accomplish there. It's also JJ Redick trying to learn what it's like to coach Luka. And we have seen a very simplistic offensive approach so far with Luka. You can get away with that, and the Lakers have gotten away with that to various extents because it was Luka and it was LeBron, and they had such higher floors than most teams because of those guys' presence on the court, the impact that they have on their teammates around them, the impact that they have on each other, all of that good stuff. And the Lakers have been able to win despite some of those bad habits kind of creeping in. And then last night, there were so many empty possessions that featured almost no ball movement, almost no player movement. It would be this matchup hunting and, isolation plays. They were really trying to pick on Al Horford, who I thought defended really well last night. And, they really kind of struggled to get baskets down the stretch. And I think one thing that the Lakers should take from that game is we let teams off the hook when the Lakers basically just matchup hunt and overly simplify the offense. Raj and I talked most recently about how basketball doesn't have to be complicated. And that's normally my approach to things. I'm very, one of my favorite cliches in life is came from, I believe, Bill Gates. He was like, I always assign my toughest tasks to some of my laziest workers because they're always going to find the easiest way to do things. And I think that was Bill Gates who said that. I don't know for sure, but I heard it once upon a time, and it gave me the excuse to be lazy. And I was like, cool, and also productive. And I was like, cool, I'm using that from here on out. And I think the Lakers, again, have formed some pretty bad habits on offense with that approach. And I think, what they'll have to do and what they'll have to figure out here moving forward is how do we, what kind of sets does Luka like running? What kind of sets fits best with the kind of lineups that the Lakers have out there? What kind of sets, fit the defense that is being played against the Lakers? We have also seen the kinds of teams that give the Lakers problems, right? It's the New York Knicks, who had a whole bunch of wings who can switch and continue to apply pressure to the Lakers. We saw the Celtics last night with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, as well as well as Derek White, give Luka and LeBron and Austin problems on the perimeter. And I think Austin also struggled against the Knicks. He's clearly kind of getting himself back into form after that calf soreness that he felt a few games ago. But those teams that have good wing defenders and then on top of it, a good point of attack defender. In New York's case, it was like Josh Hart was operating pretty well there. And McBride also for the Knicks, I thought was giving Austin some issues with his physicality out there. And then in this one, it was Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and then Derek White, and Drew Holiday also, who are two of the best perimeter defenders of their generation. So like you have all of that going on, and the Lakers approach to it was, well, we'll just try to involve Al Horford in more stuff to get away from some of those wing defenders. And I thought they just went to that well a few too many times. And it's kind of like, for Al Horford and the Boston Celtics, it's kind of like if a pitcher can have a great pitch, right? And some of the best pitchers in like, especially closers, right? They normally throw only one or two pitches, and they can get away with that because they see batters one time, usually over the course of a game. Almost always, they only see guys one time in the games that they play. And if you face that player more often, or if the at bat gets lengthened and you're still throwing that same pitch over and over and over again, and a batter gets to see that pitch several times over, it feels like it normally improves the chances that good contact is going to come off of that pitch. And I thought last night the Lakers had, I thought, a really good pitch that they could throw, that being isolating Al Horford and then attacking him. But when you do it as often as the Lakers did it in that game, not only did Al Horford understand how to defend those guys better over the course of the fourth quarter, but then also the Celtics were able to identify, which spots on the court to send help, how many dribbles into possessions to send help, how to really slow down the Lakers, even if they did turn the corner on Al Horford. And a lot of times it just wound up being like, just trying to beat the Celtics over the top with sidestep and step back 3-pointers that really kind of let them off the hook. So obviously would prefer to beat the Celtics. My Saturday night would have been a lot more fun if they beat the Celtics. However, if the Lakers do take from that loss the important lesson of we do need to diversify our offensive approach against not just the Celtics, but the Oklahoma City Thunder are similarly equipped on the perimeter with wings and point of attack guys. That'll give the Lakers problems. The Houston Rockets have that combination of wing defenders and point of attack defenders. They could also give the Lakers some issues. The Denver Nuggets are a little bit less equipped because of Jokic's at times struggles in the pick and roll. So the Lakers can maybe attack them that way. But if Aaron Gordon is available and Christian Brown is available and Russell Westbrook is focused defensively, they also have the personnel on the perimeter to sometimes give the Lakers some issues. And what the Lakers are going to have to figure out here, and now they're going to have to figure it out without LeBron for a couple of weeks, they're going to have to figure out better ways to attack these teams and, actually run some sets down the stretches of these games to even further elevate the ceiling. LeBron and Luka are going to give you, and Austin are going to give you a real high floor in terms of the kinds of looks that the Lakers can generate there. That is going to be, I think, a fairly consistent theme here with the Lakers moving forward, is the level, like the absolute worst the offense is going to look, even if there's taking some of those step back and sidestep contested threes, they're getting relatively clean looks because of the guys who are shooting those shots. LeBron can get himself that look whenever he wants. Luka obviously has a famous step back that he is very comfortable with, especially dribbling to his left. Those shots are always going to be there. If the Lakers, run through 23 and a half seconds of the shot clock, they can always just be like, hey man, can you just create something. And LeBron and Luka and Austin, to a little bit lesser extent, are going to be able to do that. But if that is the entire shot diet or the entire offensive diet for the Lakers, that's where the Lakers are going to get themselves into trouble. So hopefully the lesson that they take from that loss to the Boston Celtics is, okay, call timeout every so often, JJ, get them refocused on running a set, rein LeBron and Luka in a little bit, and try to get them running stuff together. Get Austin more involved in some of those sets, have him setting screens, or have Luka and LeBron setting screens for Austin, and see if you can, elevate. You already have that floor. Let's elevate that ceiling to the point where down the stretches of games, teams have no idea what to do with the Lakers because they have elite offensive talents also running elite sets and finding the right places to actually run those sets. All right. Was it Steve Jobs? Blue Lives Matter? Blue Lives Matter. I don't. It might have been Steve Jobs. Might have been. Like I truly don't remember where I heard it, but I fell in love with the saying because it really kind of speaks exactly to my approach on a lot of things. And here we stand. Let's go ahead and before we get you guys out of here, answer a couple of questions. So if you guys have any questions, hit me with them in the live comments. I'll go ahead and check the iTunes mailbag really quickly to see where we stand there as well. And try to send you out on the rest of your week. Okay, cool. So we do have some questions here in the all right. So from on Monday, Lake Show Mockman writes, "Hey Anthony, love the show. Love that Raj and Harrison are still part of the team. Somehow, some way, you need to bring back Aaron. I'll have you know, I mean, it doesn't really help you guys very much, but like Aaron and I basically have our podcast sessions, like I would say once every couple of weeks or so, where we just, the conversations used to be on the air, just wind up being over the phone. And they're just as entertaining as they always were back then. One day I would love to be able to bring him back though. 100% miss him on the show. For depth, I'm hoping the Lakers consider a mass cut in April. Len, Shake, and either Morris or Cam for our 3 two-way players. Love the grit from Goodwin and Jemison. While Koloko has been limited to the G League for game restrictions, he is really good. The two-ways are just better and would be a better break in case of emergency options. I'd lean on keeping Cam over Morris just in case of a wing injury, but man, he is in JJ's doghouse. Any idea what he did to not get any run even in garbage time? Keep up the energy. So one, thank you very much for the kind words about the show and all of that stuff, Mockman. As far as Cam goes, the Lakers are getting ready to cut him. Like, it's just a matter of getting the Lakers to when they can sign Goodwin and Jemison and maybe Koloko, although that seems a little bit less likely given the way that Jemison has played and the physicality he brings. I think JJ really likes that. But yeah, they're getting ready to trade Cam Reddish, or not trade, but cut Cam Reddish at some point between now and the end of the season. They really like Goodwin. So of all of the two ways, Goodwin feels the likeliest to be kept around and signed for the playoff run. The Lakers just aren't going to waive Cam right now in case, they do have now 2 wing injuries in LeBron and Rui. And if they need a break glass in case of emergency type of wing, it's better to have Cam on the roster right now while you can also play Goodwin and Jemison as well, while they still have eligibility left on their 2-way contracts. And then once that eligibility runs out and they cost the least up against that hard cap, which the second apron, which they are hard capped at, I believe. If they aren't actually hard capped at the second apron, they are certainly spiritually hard capped at the second apron. And so they want to give themselves as much flexibility. So they aren't going to waive Cam before they need to. As far as Shake and Len appears to have been one of those signings that look, I thought it was a solid signing, but then I watched him move and he just can't move. So I do think it feels a little bit more likely that Len is waived than Shake or Morris. Morris, I think, is probably sticking around long term. The Lakers love his presence in the locker room. They love the toughness that he brings. Just in case somebody like throws a cheap shot at LeBron or Luka, Morris is going to be sitting right there on the sideline, being like, "I dare you! Like, you're going to pay for that one if you keep that nonsense up," or even like just outright dissuading players from throwing those cheap shots because he's standing over there on the sideline. So I think the Lakers like him, and then also like he's really close with LeBron, really close with Luka, and I think Morris is probably around to stay. So I would say it's probably Cam is the likeliest to get waived, and then probably Len is the next likeliest. Even though that would not look the best in terms of you know, you wasted that opportunity on him, but if you can make good on that wasted opportunity by keeping Jemison around, then cool. And then if like Jemison gets hurt or something like that, and it happens late enough in the season that they're able to sneak Koloko under that second apron as well, then maybe Shake gets waived. The only issue with Shake being waived is as Eric Pincus pointed out on his Substack, Shake has a $3 million non-guaranteed contract next season, which is essentially an expiring contract that the Lakers could trade. And if, they get into these trade seasons, this transaction window at the end of the season, that would be a important trade asset for the summer. So and then also like he has had some moments, and so the Lakers basically have to, Jackson has been very good as a center, as the starting center. Jemison, I think, has been good also for the role that the Lakers need from him. And then also when you get to the postseason, you're going to cut your rotation down anyway. So do you really need another center on the team like Koloko, who probably wouldn't play? That's where it gets a little tricky. So, yeah, I think that's how I see that playing out. Next one here comes from Kush Corleone. I know in no circumstances do you ever want your favorite team to lose, but is there any part of you that wants the team to get punched in the mouth just to give them, to have them come back down to earth a bit and experience some adversity for growth? Like they're not going to win out the season, right? By the time we get to this question, I know I may have dug our own grave. LOL, hoping that's not the case and hope we keep rolling. Let's go Lakers. Great job as always, Anthony. Thank you very much, Kush. Well, fist meet face, face meet fist. And that's basically what I think last night's game should serve as, is that kind of wake-up call is like, hey, we have seen this steady decline in terms of organized offense over the course of the year, and then a real dip basically since Luka showed up. Let's get back to some of those fundamentals and strategic advancements that they were making over the course of the season. Let's get back to some of that stuff, run some effective, efficient, organized offense, and improve the team that way. Lakers Fedora writes, I feel like I haven't been this happy and excited to watch Lakers basketball in 4 or more years. I feel like a kid again tuning in to watch the Kobe era Laker games. What an awesome time. And I need to get this off my chest. Watching Jalen Brunson play basketball is just an awful experience. It's like 40 minutes of an insurance fraud compilation. Plays basketball like those videos of people you see running in front of cars and laying down pretending they got hit. Anyways, appreciate you, Anthony. Keep up the great coverage. So while we have been recording this, the Thunder and the Nuggets were playing, and Shea was doing a lot of the stuff that he normally does to try to get calls. And I saw, now look, he did get some calls. They were playing in OKC. It's always bound to happen to a certain extent, but I did feel like the referees did a slightly better job than they normally do of just letting it go. And I think that's really something I hope the NBA just tells their referees after the season is if you see guys twerking for fouls like that, just let it go. Because if they aren't getting the advantage from it and they look stupid in the process, then they're gonna stop doing it. And the other part of it that drives me crazy with Brunson and SGA and all of these guards who get to the line a ton is like how much more contact it takes for LeBron or Jokic or Luka or AD or like all of these bigger players to get to the line compared to these tiny little guards who, if you like barely touch them or they run into you, that is now called a foul. That's they need to find a way to bridge that gap between what it takes for a call to be a foul to be called on a big compared to a guard. And what it takes for a foul to be called on the perimeter versus on the interior. It's all the same contact. And that there is going to be a bit of a discrepancy there, but I think it's too wide. And that's something that the league is going to have to figure out. Oh, we did get a super comment, and it's a good thing that we did because this sound needs to be played today. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it again because I hate that team. They're too good. I hate them. All right. LA writes from the incomplete team we have, both injuries and roster construction wise post Luka. I'm glad we didn't give up last night. Got it down to 4. Look, man, Dalton had a wide open 3, and then Austin had a wide open 3. And if one, let alone both of those go down, I think we're talking about a very different end to that game. But, when you dig that kind of a hole, it takes a lot of effort to get back out of it. And I thought I think Dalton missed his shot short. No, he might have missed it long. I believe Austin missed his short though. And it was pretty clear that it was tired legs trying to get those shots up. And it was a bummer to see that play out that way. But I'm with the sentiment behind this comment in that, they got punched in the face. They have now been down double digits 3 times since the Luka trade, beat the Clippers, beat the Knicks, and then climbed all the way back to within 4 against Boston when they were down, I think, 20 plus. So coming back in that one, the way that they did was good to see. Just missed the shots that you needed to get over the top there. Darren Coolidge, right? Excuse me, Rui and Jackson were missed. Yeah, but Boston didn't have KP, so I don't know. Yes, the Lakers missed those guys, but look, you have the team that you have out there. Obviously, the Lakers missed LeBron down the stretch too. Good teams, and the Lakers to this point have found ways to win, even when they aren't 100%, when they haven't been 100%. And this was one of those cases where I think they dug themselves a little too deep a hole. And then also on top of it, I thought executed pretty poorly offensively down the stretch when they needed to play basically perfect basketball. So yeah, would have been nice to win that one, obviously. But if the Lakers use it as a learning opportunity, then it can be a net positive long-term. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I am going to break this up into its 2 parts and then also record a lowdown for it later tonight as well. So keep an eye out for all of that on the RSS feed. To those of you tuned in live right now, please hit that subscribe button and the like button. And again, that share button is rather important. And then on top of that, shouts to Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Evan Jeffries for answering that bat signal and popping on here to talk a little bit about LeBron's injury, Luka, and the way that he has looked, and Rui's injury. Great information there. If you missed it, go ahead and rewind this video and go try to find that. And I think he'll probably become a staple of the show here moving forward, hopefully, if he's interested in doing that. And then, thank you for the questions. Those 5-star reviews on iTunes really, really help. that stuff helps this show grow. So I greatly appreciate that. And to the super comment as well. That was great to see too. Also, this always. Have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Oh, wait. We have one more comment. Just making sure. Okay, cool. T-Money, when is Rui coming back? We need to get an update early this week, I think. If we don't get an update early-ish this week, or throughout this week, let alone, that's when my spidey senses will start going off. So hopefully we get that update. Fingers crossed. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, everyone.